Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining our webinar, How Ogdensburg City School District Uses Smart Lockers and Learn21. I'm Savannah from LocknCharge, and I'll start by introducing our presenters for today. We have Bob Lattiser, who is the Ed Tech and Audiovisual teacher at Ogdensburg City School District. We also have a group on from Learn21 today. We have Clay, who is the client support specialist at Learn21. We have Josh, who is the director of client success. And we have Allie, who is a developer at Learn21. We also have Katie Short from LocknCharge on the call, and she's a senior territory manager. Feel free to add any questions to the chat during the webinar, and we'll also have time for questions at the end. And with that, I'll turn it over to Katie.
Hi, everybody. Bob, it's a pleasure to see you again.
Likewise,
for all of you that might not know Bob, he is actually one of our first customers that had a larger FUYL tower deployment. So I think it was over like 3 years ago in 2021. So today what he's going to do is he's going to share with why he deployed the towers and then how it since has evolved. So first and foremost, I'm going to ask you, Bob, I know it's been 3 years, but can you tell everyone why you originally purchased the FUYL towers?
Well, our initial purchase with you was actually with carts. We started with carts out of a necessity for storage, kind of moving through COVID and all of that. So we started there, and I knew that I was going to have a long relationship with LocknCharge because one of our first carts that came in, of no fault of their own, got bashed up pretty badly in transit. And when I called Katie, I said, "What do I do with this?" She says, "Don't worry about it. We're just going to send you another one." And that's exactly what happened, and the rest is history from there. So, once we processed through that and started experimenting with that, we decided we needed to have something that was going to be an easy way for students to charge their devices. And after talking to Katie, she did a great demo on their towers, their 15-bay towers, and we decided to purchase a bunch of them for our middle school, high school facility. And they have been in place in various spaces throughout this building since then and are highly used. I love the fact that I can really manage them from my office and assist students if they have problems with them and all of that. My students, my AV students that work with me on a regular basis during the school day, they have a hand in managing them as well. Matter of fact, the ongoing joke is that they remember the admin key better than I do. So I just send them off to do it. It was kind of smart planning on my part. But it's just made our lives very easy in being able to manage devices for our students so that they can charge them and be responsible, really is the biggest thing.
So, and then I know in the past year, it has since changed. You have implemented Learn21. So can you tell us how that all started and more or less like how you're currently using TDT?
Right. Yeah. In further conversations with Katie in particular, we were desperately searching for a way for us to manage our Chromebooks and other inventory that we have that come out of this office. So Katie suggested Learn21 one day in their TDT asset piece. And we jumped in and talked with Clay and Allie and Josh and really got online with using that for every single device that we have in our district that's touched by students and teachers. So it was a matter of us for just saying, okay, now that we have these towers that we're using to manage charging and all of that stuff, I needed something so that we could manage the devices themselves. So, you know, if a student came to me and said, "Hey, Mr. Lattiser, somebody's got a Chromebook in bay 4 of the tower that's next in the science wing, and it's been in there for a couple of days and we don't know whose it is," I can go look at it. I can look at the asset tag on it and find out who's responsible for that device. So it's really kind of revolutionized how we manage our devices, how we send things out for repair, how we track loaner devices, and all of that stuff. And that brings to the evolution of Learn21 and LocknCharge. Katie, I'm going to give it back to you for a quick second. So if you want to.
Yeah. So, and I know during the process, so as he was looking into look at new ticketing and asset management system, that's more or less when we came to the conclusion we should set up a call with Learn21.
Absolutely.
And that is more or less when they were able to give them a demonstration of the entire platform, as well as the integration with the tower, which is huge because he already had the towers. And so that within the student's ticket, they could potentially then, fill out a ticket, grab a device, and it would all be tracked. And so that was a huge, huge moment for you. And I know that any other school districts that kind of more or less have the same issues, that is something that we can always do on our end, is get a demo scheduled with Learn21 so that they can then demo their product. And so that's more or less why we have Learn21 on today, to kind of discuss that integration, as well as, doing a little brief demonstration as well.
Yep. And I just want to add too that once we started talking about this integration with our towers and all of that, it's been an evolution for us in talking with Clay and Katie and everybody in how we initially set up our towers so that we could manage them, and how we're kind of moving toward it now with integrating. And we've really looked at feedback from our students who have had suggestions for us. They love that they can go and use the towers and charge their devices. But one of the big things, once we had this great management of being able to manage devices so that we know where they are at all times, because it integrates with our Google admin console. So we have that always going. It brings in information from School Tool, which is our SIS. So all of that is kind of part of all of this, and it allows us to better manage everything in that regard. So we've been listening to the students that have said, well, Mr. Lattiser, I don't like the kiosks that we have set up in the offices and stuff like that. Is there a way that we could do it better? So we're in the middle of shifting and putting iPads on the walls next to the couple of towers that we use for managed towers. We don't use all of our towers for managed towers. We use 3 of them based on needs that we feel we need. And the great part about it is the towers, even though, they're tall, but they're still portable. You can move them because we've tried them in different places, and the kids have said, well, we never go down that hallway where you put one. We don't know why you put it there. So it would be great if there was one here. So we have the flexibility of moving those around. And those are things that we're doing based on the data that we get on the back end from the towers themselves to look at our usage and everything. But the managed piece in regards to a kiosk for students to say, this key fell off of my device. I need a loaner for the day so this can get repaired. They can basically do that all on their own. And that's because of this partnership between Learn21 and LocknCharge that has really kind of revolutionized the way that we do things. So students can basically self-serve for devices that they need to send out for repair, which is awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. And Clay, do you want to add, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Bob and Katie. So one thing definitely kind of building off of what Bob said is that we wanted this morning to kind of give you all just an actual glimpse into what this integration looks like, so that if it's something you're interested in, if you've already been looking at using LocknCharge for a while, I know we have several of our current partners that we work with already that are on. So if this is something that you're interested in, but you're not even really sure what it looks like, that's what we're going to do now. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. And before I actually show the integration part, I did want to kind of give a self-service snapshot. So Allie pulled the stats for these, and give a little quick shout out to Allie. She's kind of the brains behind this whole integration. She has built it from the ground up, and she's continuing to work on it. And so everything that you're about to see is really her brainchild, and she's done awesome work with this. So one thing to kind of let you all know is that currently we do have self-service kiosks set up in 191 schools across the country. We also have 73 individual integrated towers that our integration is managing and helping check out loaners and things like that. And then we also do have 20 unique kiosk profiles. So as was kind of mentioned, we can customize the kiosks that you guys are about to see to make sure that it really fits your all's needs. And then since 2020, when the integration went live, we've had over 9,000, almost 10,000 reservations. And we've even just had about 6,000 this year. So a lot of this is really, this integration has been growing even in the past year. And we're really starting to see a lot more usage with it. So now we'll jump into actually showing you all what this looks like. So if you've never seen TDT asset before, yes.
You're only sharing your tower right now.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
There you go.
Thanks. All right. So this is TDT asset. Thanks, Allie. And if you've never seen it before, this is our asset management solution. So I won't dive into all the different things that asset can do, but as mentioned, we can go ahead and assign devices to students and staff, and we can track repairs. And that's really where this integration comes into play. So the first thing I want to do is kind of show what it looks like from the technician side. So as you're using this day in and day out, and then we'll jump into what it looks like for a student or staff that needs to use the towers. So to do this, in our admin section, you'll see this self-service management tab. And this is where whenever you have a tower, however many you have, 1, 2, or 20, however many your school has, you can put all of them in here and you can manage them straight from TDT asset. So what we can do actually is click on a specific tower. We can also filter by building. So if you have towers that are just being used at a middle school or a high school, and a media specialist is kind of managing those, they can just filter and only see the towers that are applicable to them. But once you click on a tower, we can go ahead and show you all of the bays, and we can show you their statuses. But more than that, we can actually just help you open these bays straight from TDT asset. And then you can load in these assets that you want to hand out as loaners. And this is also great because TDT asset is a fully web-based program and it's mobile friendly. So we do have several of our partners that use self-service that will just walk up to the tower in the morning, pull up TDT asset on their phone, open up the bays, and they can load these assets in right there without having to jump back and forth between their desk and the tower. So again, we can open up a tower and then we can just hit edit. And that's where we can change the bay availability status. So we can actually say, hey, it's available. A student or a staff, anyone who logs into the kiosk can reserve it. Or we can say, hey, it's empty, offline. Or we can even make a reservation, which is great because as an administrator, if you then want to give the device back to a student, but you don't actually have time to hunt them down and find them, you can make a reservation, put their old device in there, and it'll send off an email to them that it's ready to be picked up. But then we can just go ahead and load in our asset tags and serial numbers for those assets that need to be in there and ready to be assigned to students as a loaner. So that's a super simple process. Again, every day you just go up to the towers, open up the bays, load those devices in, and then you can check on them throughout the day as well. So now, whenever you're ready, and as Bob kind of mentioned, there are a couple of different ways that students and staff can actually check out these devices through the kiosk. So everybody using TDT asset does have this incident kiosk available already, but you won't have these kiosks here. And so these right here are really great for integrating with the tower, and these are customizable again. So the kiosk repair and forgot incidents, these are just if you want to limit these towers to be used for only those incident types. So if you just want to say, hey, these towers are only available if you forgot your device. If you've broken it, this isn't for you. But we also have this student kiosk option, which is the most popular one for the LocknCharge integration. This allows students to fill out 2 of the 3 following fields. They can put in their lunch number or their student ID, their email address, or their asset tag, or their serial code. And so with this, having these 2 of 3 fields, it'll go ahead and find them in the system and show that. Now, we do have a lot of times that districts and schools will ask us, can we just make it like a student ID or something like that? And we always require at least 2 fields with the kiosk to help make sure that other students aren't filling out incidents on the behalf of other people, because we have seen that before. And so we want to make sure that really only the student that needs it can jump in there. And that's right. Allie just reminded me, by the way, all of this student data, their ID, their email address, all of that comes directly from our SIS integration. So in Bob's case, our integration with School Tool just brings all of those student information in on a nightly sync. And so you can make those assignments super easy. But what I can go ahead and do is if I actually just put in some information here, then it will go ahead and show me that this is our student here. So I put in their student ID and their asset tag for this instance. And so we see this is Stephanie Tanner. This is her Chromebook. If she had multiple devices assigned to her, we'd be able to see all of those and she'd be able to select which one she's actually creating an incident for. But in this case, she's just got this one. So we'll go ahead and hit continue here. And this is where we can give, and again, this is fully customizable, but we give them the option in this kiosk view to pick what type of incident they're having. So does their device need repair, or did they forget it and need a loaner? So then we'll go ahead and hit my device needs repair in this incident. And these issues right here are fully customizable from the technician end. And so these actually match what if you were creating the incident yourself, this is exactly what you as a technician would see. And so students can come in here and go ahead and say, in this case, all right, my screen is broken, maybe my keyboard's broken as well, or any of these other issues that you've got. We can then hit continue, and then it's going to show Stephanie all of the bays that she has available for her to check out a device from. Now, a great thing about this too is in the admin settings, you can actually change the visibility options. So you can make bays available only to certain grade levels, to certain buildings, and you can limit, obviously you don't want your middle school students checking out and making reservations at the high school. So again, we can go ahead and limit that based on the data we're pulling in from the SIS, and we can say only high school students should be able to see these towers. So in this case, we can see here that this station has 2 bays available. So I'll go ahead and hit continue. It'll give her a chance to kind of review the incident that she's creating here. And then we can go ahead and just hit confirm. Once this happens on the back end, it's going to make a reservation in the LocknCharge, or excuse me, in the LocknCharge tower. It's going to go offline. And so the bay is now reserved. And it's also going to kick off an email to them with this information. So in Bob's case, like you said, if the iPad or the Chromebook or whatever kind of kiosk device you have is right next to it, they can obviously, as you can see in this GIF, just go ahead and input that information right there. However, if they miss it or something like that, again, it is going to actually show them that in an email, and people using the admin tool in TDT Asset can see it. So if it's in a library, they forget it, a media specialist or a technician can go in, see the bay, and get their PIN number for them. So after this, we can just go ahead and hit finish, or it will refresh, and then it just goes back to the screen and becomes available for another student or staff to check out a device from. Now, I can't show you this part, obviously, because I don't have a tower with me, but in this case, the next step would be the student goes up to the bay, they put in that information that was generated for them, and then as soon as that bay is opened, as soon as the door is opened, it actually completes the incident creation. So it goes ahead and says, all right, this device has been broken, these issues are applied to it, and then that asset that we loaded in there as a loaner will be assigned to them automatically. So as Bob was mentioning, this is fully self-service. You don't have to do anything with this to help students or staff get their loaner devices that they need. They can just go in, and as long as their device is available, they can check them out. And we even have an option available to that. If the bays fill up, if the tower gets over 80% full and used, then it'll send an email to you automatically to say, hey, you may need to go load more devices or check those out. So with this, we try to make it as smooth as possible for you as a technician, adding these assets in there, and then as smooth as possible for students or staff to go ahead and check out these devices and create those incidents on their own. And so there's a lot more that we can do in the settings as well, but I won't bog us down with that. So that's pretty much all I've got on the demo side.
Awesome. Someone did ask, is there any compliance in integrating and deploying the solution with handling of school data?
So I can jump in and answer that. So we have an Ed2D law contract signed with both companies, so they are compliant in that regard.
I'll also piggyback off of that and say that we are, as a nonprofit at Learn21, we're big advocates for student data privacy. So we really have no problem getting into the nitty-gritty and kind of explaining in better detail, like where the data is going, how it's being stored. That's kind of stuff that we handle during the demo and the handoff process. There have been many student data privacy things that we've had to sign for districts to get them onboarded. So it's definitely something that our team works with you guys on. And it's definitely a passion and a concern for us. So
I want to add one more thing. Seeing Clay has up the main page of TDT assets. This is really a huge page for us because what we do in a lot of cases with this incident, with all of the incidents and everything that you see there, is we manage those on a regular basis. So we can see when a loaner has been sent out or assigned to someone. And you have a choice in there of a loaner or a daily loaner. So obviously, if it's a repair, it's probably going to be a regular loaner because they can keep it for more than just a 24-hour period. The daily loaners and all of that, we shut those down after a day. So students will often come back and say, hey, why does this device say it's basically a brick? And well, there's a reason for that. So that we don't wind up, when we first started doing this, funny, I like to call it the Landon clause, because we had a student whose name was Landon who all of a sudden had 5 loaner devices and all of that. And, you know, shame on us for getting to that point. But I told the poor guy, he's one of the best kids too. He says, well, you know, I just didn't have them, and they just kept piling up at home, and then I didn't have any more room to store these, so I had to bring them back. I'm like, so we would have found you at one point, but now, you know, we are vigilant about all of that. And this just gives us an easy way to know who has what its purpose was. If it was a loaner based on a repair, all of that comes up when you look at the student profile. It'll show you, and it keeps track of all of your frequent flyers too. So if you have someone who is, you know, a picker of keys, likes to pick the keys off of the devices, you'll see that in the history. So that's awesome. That is worth its weight in gold. So I also want to add in the fact that this repair piece, sending them out for repair, because it looks like there might be a question that just came up on that. For us here in Ogdensburg, we have an agreement with our BOCES in New York State. So we have regional BOCES that we send most of our devices out for repairs. So, and they have a separate form for us to fill out for those incident repairs. But in my discussion with them and from our tech's point of view, it sounds like they're actually going to collapse their incident kiosk that they have separately from TDT, and it looks like they're going to be buying into TDT for our region and using their ticketing piece, because it's very thorough and allows you to, and because it's connected to our SIS, we have all of the data, parent data, student data in there, so it's easy to send out letters, all of that stuff for repair purposes. So that's huge.
It looks like there was another question for you, Bob, that it says, is there a quick way to identify and lock down those daily loaners directly through TDT, or are you checking each manually?
I can disable the device right in TDT. It's literally when you're looking, Josh, or Clay, I don't know if you can bring up one so they can see that specifically, like on the main page where you look at the device.
Yeah, so one way that we can do this is, first of all, you can run really quick reports, and you can save these, but you can just run reports on these daily loaners or the loaners, and you can filter down by further grade level building, things like that. And then in our device management, we do have integrations with Google Admin Console and with Jamf Pro, so that you can actually, through the bulk integration actions, you can do this on an individual device. But in Bob's case, you can actually just bulk enable or bulk disable devices. So you can run that report, get your daily loaners, figure out what asset tags they are, and then just dump those straight into this bulk disable. That way you can just manage that really quickly.
It is so easy. It really is a game changer for us. In addition to that, on each device that's signed out, whether you bring it up by student or whether you bring it up by the asset tag that's on it, you can see on that screen over to the right, it shows you the Google admin console piece, and there's a place there to disable the device as well if you just happen to be on a screen like that. So yeah, so similar to what Clay's bringing up right now. So it just makes it really, you can see right there, we're in the red disable Chromebook. You can do that right at that point too. So a couple of different ways to do it. Obviously, the easiest way for us to do it on the daily is to simply load that report and automatically do it in one instance. Literally takes seconds to do it.
I did also want to mention too, I know Bob mentioned the example of the student checking out multiple loaners. I know Allie has actually been working on a feature for that, so that basically going forward, if students already have they'll only be able to create incidents on their main devices. So we did have examples where students would actually create an incident on their loaner device that they checked out from the tower, but now they're only able to check out loaner devices for their actual assigned device in TDT asset. So this will hopefully cut down on the students that are, checking out a daily loaner, taking it home on accident, and then, like Bob said, having 5 or 6 stack up on their bedside table.
Right.
Yeah, that was a big shame on me moment.
And to kind of elaborate on what Clay's talking about, that's actually something that can be set on like a per profile basis. So when he went through that list and said, here's a couple of different profiles, districts could have as many as they want. That way, so like if state reporting rolls around and you're like, okay, as much as I want to lock it down and make sure that kids aren't taking loaner devices out on other loaner devices that they already have, you can at least override that and do a different profile that allows that just for that week, just so that you can make sure that the students have their devices for state testing and things like that.
I just want to jump in. Kim had put a question in there about pulling back on the one-to-one take-homes and ways to have bays of loaners. Yeah, that's basically what we've been talking about. Is you can set up a full tower to have loaner devices in them, and the students can access them through the kiosk. That's the way we do it with 3 of our towers currently right now. They use them for not only returning broken devices or devices that need to be repaired in some way, but it allows them to grab a loaner device as well as sign out a daily loaner in that case.
We have another question in the chat. It says, are you able to wipe the devices if they leave the area and are not brought back?
When you disable the device, you're basically turning it into a brick. Ours opens up and it says, this is the property of the Ogdensburg City School District. Please return it. And it has my name and email and office number and all of that stuff in it. So they can contact me directly at that point.
And as far as inside of TDT asset, like Josh said in his comment, we can go as far down as to like resetting, or what they formerly called power washing the device. Yep. And then the nice thing about that with the module and everything is that you don't have to give the keys to like your building staff, your secretaries, to like get into Google Admin Console. You could just say, okay, I want to give them the permission to be able to disable or at least view this stuff without having to give them keys to sign into Admin Console and mess with all your stuff. So you're able to kind of lock that down.
That's actually been a request, Allie, from our office staff to be able to do that, because a lot of times they'll be the first group to get hit in the morning. Oh, Mr. Lattiser's not in his office, blah, blah, blah. And then they've
Yeah.
been directed to, they know the process. They've been trained on how to show a student to get a loaner device, all of those things. But to be able to have access to the console is another really great piece. So, and that's something that as the administrator of it, I can add in on the back end as well, just like I've added in my students, and I can customize what I want them to have access to, what they shouldn't have access to, and all of that stuff. So that it's not just one person running the ship, right? You've got a bunch of other people that you can assign specific things that they can do within it. And that's been one of the cool things about the program, is it's really easy for me to go in and say, oh, this is what I want to do the first time I set up my students. And then I thought, they were like, wait a second, I can't do that anymore. I'm like, well, hang on 1 second. Let me go in and look at it. Oh, I can click on this box, and then all of a sudden they have access to it. So I can give access and take it away very quickly. And that's one of the great parts about this management system for your staff and all of that stuff. You can give them access, but you can give them access to just do a few little things that'll make your life easier. You can give them more access, all depending on how you manage your office space, your system, any of those things.
All right, do we have any more questions? Okay, looks like we're a couple minutes over, but yeah, thanks everyone for all the great questions. Just as a wrap up, I'll ask one more. Is it possible for someone to trial the LocknCharge Smart Locker and the Learn21 Tech Director Toolbox?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yep. On our end, we can send one out from our warehouse in Madison, Wisconsin. It usually gets there in like 3 to 5 business days to test it out, as well as then we would obviously bring Learn21 on, and we can go over like the implementation and then test it at the same time.
Yeah, and we are currently offering a free trial of TDT Asset for the remainder of the 23-24 school year until June 30th. So that gives you plenty of time to get, logged in, get all of your integrations set up, and then when the tower arrives for your POC with LocknCharge, then you're already set up and pretty much ready to go if you're interested.
Great. All right. Thank you so much, Bob, for presenting with us today. And thanks to Learn21 for demoing your Tech Director Toolbox.